Pat Sajak has been hosting the popular TV show Wheel of Fortune since 1981. He's received a whopping 19 nominations for Daytime Emmy Awards for the category of Outstanding Game Show Host, and he won 3. While he's been a television fixture for decades, many are beginning to wonder if his reign at the top is finally coming to an end. Sajak has been facing a steady stream of backlash in the last few years, as he's made repeated mistakes and taken needless hurtful jabs at contestants, one of whom he heartlessly mocked for having a lisp. Join us as we discuss the possibility of Pat Sajak getting the axe in the near future. The Ungrateful Jab. On November 25, 2020, Pat Sajak had a bit of a meltdown on his show when contestant Darren McBain challenged him on one of the puzzle answers. Darren's mother was a 3-day champion on Wheel of Fortune in 1982, so he's clearly familiar with how the game is supposed to run. He was tasked with solving a puzzle that involved guessing things that began with the word kitchen. He was able to correctly guess the answers such as towels, cabinet, and sink, but he took issue with the answer kitchen oven being on the board. Darren playfully asked, "Who calls it a kitchen oven?" Pat snapped back at him, seemingly lightheartedly, by calling him an ungrateful player. He couldn't fathom why Darren was questioning him when he'd already won the puzzle. Although it appeared Pat was merely joking, he later confirmed that he indeed finally had snapped. Some who watched the episode expressed on social media that they believe Pat almost lost it. That being said, most people seem to only think Pat was teasing the guy. Darren came in second place, but evidently Pat felt the need to clarify that he meant no harm and apologized to Darren before the credits rolled. Mocking the man with the lisp. In an episode that aired in February 2021, contestant Chris Brimble introduced himself as a computer tech salesman, and in the process, he revealed that he suffered from a minor speech impediment, commonly called a lisp. After noticing the lisp, Pat replied by saying "I thee" instead of "I see," clearly mocking Brimble's manner of speech. Immediately, Pat came under a rain of fire from all directions. Some longtime Wheel fans called for the host to resign, while rumors began to swirl that the producers wanted Sajak to take a step back. Laughing at or mocking someone's speech defect is not only disrespectful, it's entirely unprofessional, so it's understandable why the public would be outraged at Sajak's behavior. Unnamed sources have told several tabloid outlets following the incident that producers of Wheel of Fortune have long been frustrated with Pat's behavior. Insiders say that while he seems to be a kind, good-hearted person, in reality he's a bit of a jerk. One gossip rag went as far as to say that Sajak's personality took a 180 after he had intestinal surgery several months before the lisp incident. It's alleged that while recovering, Pat had something of a nervous breakdown, and that afterwards he seemed to be an entirely different person. While that theory is admittedly quite flimsy, it's clear Pat doesn't seem to be the same guy we all know and love. Recently, the rumor mill has speculated that Sajak will be imminently replaced by Vanna White, his longtime assistant. Other reports claim that White has long been frustrated with merely being eye candy and has been positioning herself to take over hosting duties for good. That being said, the lisp incident happened more than a year ago. If Sajak was going to be given the boot, you'd think the show's producers would have done it by now, unless they're waiting for his contract to run out. Currently, his contract extends through the 2024 season, so if they're considering replacing him, they'll have to wait a bit more. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already, and stick around for more about Pat Sajak. Sajak's recent prize puzzle flub. On March 3, 2022, Sajak, who has been hosting Wheel of Fortune for 39 years now, made a rookie mistake that has gotten people wondering if the 75-year-old is starting to show his age. He seemed to completely forget that a puzzle solved on that evening's episode was a prize puzzle. After the contestant successfully solved it by reading the words "dazzling double rainbow," Sajak was supposed to have told her what prize she had won. Instead, he started introducing the triple toss-up round. After the blunder, you could distinctly hear the producers and staff of the show in the background shouting out the words "prize puzzle" to signal Sajak he needed to announce it. After they got his attention, Sajak read off the prize before joking they'd have to cut to commercial so he could take time to read the rules of the game show. Fans proceeded to dissect the incident on social media. One fan made a post on Twitter questioning why they hadn't edited out the mistake, given the fact the show isn't broadcast live. They also seemed puzzled why Sajak wasn't fitted with some sort of earpiece. Another feather in your cap. This isn't the first time, however, that the ABC game show has shown up in the news in 2022. On another recent episode, one of the puzzles thoroughly stumped all the contestants and has since gone viral. After the contestants filled in most of the puzzle, the wheel puzzle read, "Another feather, N-Y-O-R-A." After a contestant spun the wheel and landed on bankrupt, other contestants tried to solve the puzzle by guessing another feather in your map and another feather in your lap. Finally, after about 2 minutes, one contestant was able to provide the correct answer by guessing another feather in your cap. After seeing all the online controversy connected to the episode, Sajak defended the contestants in a lengthy Twitter post. In that post, Pat says he felt pained seeing the contestants face ridicule online. He said solving the puzzle at home while sitting in the comfort of an armchair is a lot easier than doing so while under pressure on network television. Is Sajak's nasty behavior related to grief? Pat Sajak and late Jeopardy host Alex Trebek were close friends. Trebek shocked the world when he announced in 2019 he'd been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. In the months leading to his diagnosis, he'd been experiencing a persistent stomachache. By the time he realized what he was dealing with, the cancer had already advanced to the point where there was little hope he could defeat it. His condition continued to deteriorate over the next year, although he retained his hosting duties. On July 16, 2020, Trebek gave an update on his prognosis, saying that while he felt fatigue, his chemo was starting to look like it was paying off. In October, he went under the knife to receive surgery related to his cancer treatment. But he died in his home in LA, November 8, 2020. He was 80. After Trebek's death, Pat Sajak was nothing short of devastated. Some claimed that Sajak had been deeply rattled by the death of his dear friend. Others speculated he had finally lost his marbles due to his grief. One insider noted that Alex's death left Sajak feeling depressed while forcing him to think about his own mortality. Perhaps it's these unaddressed feelings that have been causing Sajak to lash out at contestants. Whether this is actually the case is a matter of some debate, but some in Pat's inner circle feel he needs to either retire or seek out therapy to address his inner turmoil. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Pat Sajak should hang up his feathered cap and retire from Wheel of Fortune? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.